Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I've seen a bit of controversy and debating on the internet this week over a movie that I also myself recently saw and have a copy of called American Sniper, which a lot of you are familiar with already. And in the scene, there was a very short scene in the weight room to where Bradley Cooper, who's playing Chris Kyle, is doing a variation of a deadlift. And there's a bunch of controversies, and people online call it a squat deadlift, and there's debates as to what this exercise is called and what he's doing, and people are saying it's a deadlift, it's not a deadlift, it's a squat deadlift. Let's just get all that out of the way. Let's discuss the exercise a little bit, because we've now seen it in a major movie with a guy using a pretty respectable amount of weight. And what is this exercise technically called that he was doing? Well, this is a multiple variant exercise. There's multiple variations from a standard exercise involved, so it would technically be called a hex bar block pull, because it's not a rack pull. It's done off of blocks, which there's reasons we do that with a barbell. Those benefits versus doing it any other way to reduce the range of motion with a hex bar don't actually exist to the same degree, but that is technically what it's called. A hex bar block pull or a hex bar block deadlift. Now, why some people would call it a squat deadlift would have to do with the fact that you're doing a range of motion on it and a movement that very much replicates some of the benefits of both a squat, a partial squat, and a deadlift. Now, is this a beneficial exercise? Well, it depends on what your goals are. For a military application who is currently deployed in a combat zone, who doesn't need their lower back particularly fatigued but wants to get full body strength training in, I could see it as an acceptable exercise. I would very possibly prescribe it for that job. Because normally I've said in the past that for field athletes, and let's be realistic, special forces and spec ops and things in the military are field athletes. I mean, their needs as far as strength training are essentially the same as a field athlete in all respects. Right? I've said before that for a field athlete, I could absolutely replace the standard conventional barbell deadlift with a hex bar deadlift because it puts a little less stress on the lower back, not spending as much time waiting on the spinal erectors and lower back to recover. That's a slower recovering muscle group in the body, and you don't want it particularly fatigued when you're out in the field. Or say someone like this sniper who's spending hours and hours on end lying prone, who doesn't really want his lower back to be cramping up when he goes to take a precision shot. I can see this as a viable alternative, particularly since he's pulling the bottom of the range of motion out. So I can absolutely see it being useful there. And people are, again, calling it a squat deadlift because it seems to have benefits of both a deadlift, no, not all of them, with some benefits of doing a heavy partial squat. And for this purpose of what it's being used for, probably by soldiers out in the field, it's an acceptable exercise. It absolutely could be beneficial. But I see no problem with the exercise, and it's not called a squat deadlift. Again, the correct terminology would be a hex bar block pull. I know that's a bit much to say. And on another side note, I do recommend this movie. I've seen a bunch of people. This movie's got a lot of criticism, and I particularly didn't like what Michael Moore had to say about it. I'm not going to get into a long diatribe on this. But I thought it was a good movie, and I personally didn't feel that it glorifies war. I felt it glorifies guns, which I'm okay with because I'm about to be part owner in a gun company that sells tactical guns. So hey, I'm great with that people be buying my products. But that aside, I don't feel it glorified war. I don't feel it glorified all of our activities in the Middle East. In fact, I felt it was a very, very powerful movie about PTSD and the impact that has on soldiers who are in combat situations. I think it was a very, very powerful movie about that. And that's something that I really appreciate. And now I know some people down below are going to comment, talk about American snipers and things in a negative light. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to put up with that. I have a baby cousin who I helped raise, who has done multiple tours as a U.S. Army Spec Ops sniper in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so if you start insulting those people, I'm going to take that personally. And I'm probably going to ban you and block you. And before people say whatever they want about him, I'll tell you, look, he wouldn't kill you or anyone of your family if he weren't a jihadist or a terrorist. So don't be either one of those, and you don't got to worry about him. So keep those comments to yourself. All right, guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative. and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicepius.